my name is Morgan. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing another health update. Kind of something that I didn't expect to be updating you on, which is kind of a new thing. It's not really even an update, but just kind of what's going on. I don't know where to start. So let's start with October 28th. I was at the zoo with my boyfriend, and while I was walking, all of a sudden my vision went completely into a pinpoint and then disappeared for a few seconds. And it took a little bit for me to sit there and I sat down and I just waited for it to come back. And I was still conscious the entire time, but I couldn't see anything. And my boyfriend said that my pupils got really big. So that was a weird thing that happened. Monday the 30th, I was at work and I just kept getting extremely dizzy and feeling like the world was spinning, and I couldn't stand up without feeling like I was going to pass out, and I was crying the whole morning. So I left work early. The next morning, Halloween, I did not go to work, and my whole body was jerking, which I thought was weird. But I got a little bit better throughout the day, so it was okay. Next day, November 1st, I went to work, and that morning I was fine, and then while I was at work, all of a sudden my leg just completely, my left leg, I lost feeling in it, and I couldn't stand on it, and I was really shaky and everything, and my arm started doing this tremor, but it was a very, very intense tremor. My whole arm was jerking like that and stuff, and I'm not going to demonstrate it with my left arm. It's my left arm that was doing it, but I'm not going to use my left arm to demonstrate because it's calm right now, and if I start to I don't know how to explain it. It's gonna trigger it if I start to show it on that arm, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I was jerking a lot. So I left work early, and we went to the ER, and they basically, I got Benadryl because we weren't sure if it was a reaction to a new medication that I started the week prior. So they put me on Benadryl, and they took me off of that med, and kind of went from there. And we were doing a lot of blood tests, and they basically were you can either schedule with a neurologist, or you can spend the night. The neurologist will be here tomorrow, and you can start getting testing now instead of waiting months to get into a specialist. So I chose to spend the night, and so I spent the night, and I got a CAT scan on my brain, multiple MRIs, one on my actual blood vessels, the structure, my cervical spine, my neck, my thoracic spine, literally all the imaging. And then I got every blood test imaginable. I got tested for, because I work at a vet, so I got tested for Lyme disease and leptospirosis, Bartonella, which is a disease you can get from fleas, all sorts of things, and nothing was coming back. So I was put on a different anti-anxiety medication because they suspected at the time that I could be having serotonin syndrome, which is very rare, but it's basically an overdose of serotonin, and that can happen if you are on any sort of SSRI. And at the time I was on Prozac for my anxiety, which I had said in the past that I got put on, and it was really working, honestly. It still was working. And so they took me off of that, and they changed me to, I think it's called Buspar, which I don't feel like it's helping at all. It's not doing anything bad necessarily, but I don't think it's helping my anxiety, at all. So that sucks. But spoiler alert, they don't think that it is serotonin syndrome anymore because basically that's supposed to stop after a few days of not being on the SSRI. So yeah, they don't think it's the serotonin syndrome anymore because that should have stopped by now if that was the case. And it has not. So now, let's see, I'm trying to rewind. I was in the hospital for 3 nights. So I was admitted on November 1st, and I left on November 4th, and they sent me home with a walker, and I was put on folic acid, vitamin B12, and that Buspar. I got a follow-up schedule with a neurologist. I went there. He's suspecting at this point. We did an EEG, which I already did on Friday, which was basically electrodes on my head to measure brain waves and basically look for any seizure activity. And I'm doing a EMG on Monday, which Obviously, when I'm filming this right now, I have not done that. That is in 2 days. But that is to check for nerve damage in my arm and leg and see if that could be having to do with something. None of the other tests have came back positive for anything besides, my cervical spine MRI did show that I have a slipped disc and a healed fracture and bone spurs in my spine, but that's nothing that should be causing this to happen. There's also inflammation around my spine, which they said is basically just like mild arthritis right now, which they weren't concerned about, which honestly, I'm not concerned about it right now per se, but considering I'm 23 and I have minor, I think it's called spondylitis in my spine, that's a bit concerning to me because that's supposed to happen as you get older, and if I already have it when I'm 23, I'm kind of like, what is it going to do as I get older, you know what I mean? So that's probably going to be a problem for down the road. Yeah, basically nothing that they could find is explaining everything that's going on. So he told me if nothing new comes up on my EEG or my EMG that I'm basically going to be diagnosed with FND, which is functional neurological disorder. And to put it simply, that's basically like nothing structurally wrong with you to explain your symptoms, but there's just something going on in general. Like your brain just doesn't work properly, but we don't know why. My apologies, my guinea pig is yelling at me. You'll get your salad after, okay? Yeah, basically, I'm just kind of waiting for that official diagnosis, I guess. I did a follow-up with my primary doctor, and she actually filled out the forms that I'm going on Monday morning to get a disability placard for my car. Because FND, if it is FND especially, like right now, it's a temporary placard. So because I'm using a walker and things like that, and it says neurological condition, but I don't know exactly what's going on. But if it is FND, that is something that, putting it simply, you don't ever get rid of FND. You just have that. However, it comes and goes. It's like in spurts. It can be like in remission, and then you get a relapse of it, things like that. And the relapses can last like days, weeks, months, years, and they can happen very close together, or you can have one and like never have it again, or you can have one and then have one in like years from now. It really depends on the individual. And from my understanding, this is kind of a rare thing. Basically, we don't know. Like, I'm never going to get rid of FND, but I don't know how it's going to affect me. Considering this has been going on for over 2 weeks now, I feel like this is a long spurt of whatever is happening, if it is. But, yeah, there's no cure. There's no treatments. I'm starting physical therapy in December. But that's mainly like what they can do is like physical therapies and medications. Like, let's say if I start having seizures, which they said if it's FND, that's an increased risk, I would get put on anti-seizure medication, but that's about it. You know, they can just manage the symptoms. So, I've also been waking up every morning and being basically paralyzed on my left side for like the first half hour or so in the morning, which I have found out is basically because your brain, it's like misfiring signals, so your brain doesn't realize that your body needs to be awake, like your mind's awake but your body's not, so that's an issue. And then I've also been having where, well, first of all, my hand is like this, so I can technically move those fingers, but this is the default position it goes in, and I've noticed, like, it's not as noticeable as my leg, but this arm is weaker than this arm. Like, I have a hard time opening doors and things like that with it. I can see my iPad falling again. But yeah, and then my left leg, I've noticed in the past it was numb and couldn't hold my weight without my knee buckling. Now it's like trying its best to help me, but I think there's some sort of like the signal for my brain is something is happening along the way. So my leg, I will try to walk forward and it will just like be in the air, like mid-air, just like going at it, or like it won't go, or like things like that. It's like not listening. So I don't know if that's considered improvement, but I'm looking at it as at least my leg is moving. At least I can feel my leg. because I went like 3 days in the hospital not feeling my leg. So, yeah, right now I'm basically in limbo trying to find out if I have FND or something. They tested me for seizure activity on Friday, and I don't know if that's happening because, again, nothing structurally was found, but I guess there's a way if I'm having a focal seizure, which is like a localized seizure, I can also be aware during them, and yeah, I don't know, it's a possibility, I guess, that I didn't think was a possibility, but I guess it is. So I'm gonna find out if I'm having seizures, which I'm pretty sure if I am, I would be automatically considered epileptic since it's been happening for like 2 weeks. And the criteria to have epilepsy is like 2 or more seizures 24 hours apart, or at more than 24 hours apart, I'm pretty sure. So, I don't know, we're just kind of waiting around. But whatever I have, I feel like is going to be here for the long haul. Which, in a weird way, this probably doesn't make sense to anybody, but in a weird way, that's kind of more comforting to me, because at least I know, like, if this happens again, that it's has an explanation, versus, like, if we never know what this is, and we never found out, or, like, it's supposed to go away, and, like, what if it happens again, or, like, you know what I mean? It's a lot more, like, comforting to me, at least, to know what to expect, and that this might continue, and things like that. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess comment down below if you have any questions or anything like that. I would rather not get any weird, unsolicited, like, medical advice. I'm not asking for medical advice. I'm just kind of, like, talking about my experience and documenting it, and also if anyone else is out there that can maybe, like, relate to this. But, yeah, please don't tell me, like, what doctors to see and things like that. And I gave you a summary, so I didn't give you, like, all the information. I will keep you updated, and I'll see you in my next video.